It was a quiet Sunday morning in Willow Creek, a manicured suburban enclave in North Carolina, when my world turned upside down. My 10-year-old son, Ethan, was shoved off his bike by a power-hungry HOA enforcer who grinned as my boy hit the pavement. I snapped, grabbed Ethan's cracked helmet, and made that man regret ever touching my child. But that was just the start. When the HOA tried to bury the truth, I fought back, exposing their lies and shattering their control over our neighborhood. This is the story of how one father's rage sparked a revolution. Sundays were our time. Ethan and I would head out early, him on his shiny red bike, me jogging behind, both of us laughing under the oak-lined streets of Willow Creek. Our neighborhood was the kind of place where lawns were trimmed to perfection and the HOA's rules hung over us like a guillotine. Ethan loved the winding path near the community pond, as smooth, HOA-approved trail lined with benches and azaleas, perfect for a kid's bike. That morning, he begged to ride there. I checked his helmet, packed a water bottle, and we set off, unaware of the storm waiting just beyond the next curve. The air was crisp, the kind of September morning that felt like a gift. Neighbors waved from their porches, and a jogger nodded as she passed. Ethan pedaled ahead, his grin wide as he picked up speed on the gentle slope. I watched, proud, until a shadow stepped onto the path. A man in a bright orange HOA vest, clipboard in hand, emerged from behind a maintenance shed. His name was Carl Hensley, a self-appointed guardian of Willow Creek's standards. No smile, no wave, just a hard stare fixed on my son. My stomach tightened. Something was wrong. Carl didn't call out. He didn't signal. He lunged, planting himself in Ethan's path and thrusting his arm out like a linebacker. "This isn't a racetrack," he barked. Ethan's eyes widened, but he had no time to react. Carl's hand slammed into his chest, knocking him off the bike. The bike skidded, Ethan's helmet cracked against the pavement, and his small body tumbled, scraping his knees and elbows raw. His scream pierced the air sharp, panicked, a sound no parent can unhear. I dropped everything and ran. "What the hell are you doing?" I yelled, my voice raw with fury. Ethan was curled on the ground, blood seeping through his torn jeans. Carl turned, unfazed, his thin lips curling into a smirk. "Read the rules," he said, tapping his clipboard. "No bikes on this path. I'm enforcing policy." I knelt beside Ethan, my hands shaking as I checked his injuries. His lip trembled. "Dad, my bike." "You're okay, buddy," I whispered, but my eyes were locked on Carl. "You pushed a child," I said, standing, fists clenched. Carl shrugged. He was breaking rules. I redirected him. "HOA gives me authority." "Redirected? You assaulted my son, you arrogant bastard." I stepped closer, my voice shaking. He didn't back down. Instead, he leaned in, his breath sour. "Try anything, and you'll regret it. The HOA has my back. Sue me, and see who wins." A crowd was gathering, neighbors with phones out, murmuring, watching. Ethan whimpered behind me, and something snapped. I saw his cracked helmet on the ground, and rage took over. I grabbed the helmet, my fingers tightening around its plastic edge. Carl's smirk widened, daring me. "You think you're tough?" he sneered. I didn't answer. I swung. The helmet cracked across his jaw, and he stumbled, blood spurting from his lip. The crowd gasped, but I wasn't done. I yanked him up by his vest and slammed the helmet into his nose. A wet crunch echoed as he crumpled, clutching his face. "You touched my son," I growled. "You think that vest makes you untouchable?" He tried to crawl away, blood dripping onto the pavement, but I pinned him with my boot. "Not today." The crowd was silent, stunned. A woman whispered, "That's the guy who fined me for my kid's lemonade stand." A man nodded. "He slashed my son's soccer ball last year." No one stepped in to help Carl. They just watched, as if I'd done what they'd all wanted to do. I crouched beside him, voice low. "You picked the wrong kid." Then I turned to Ethan, lifting him gently. "You okay, buddy?" He nodded, eyes wide but steady. I carried him home, leaving Carl bleeding on the path. We hadn't gone far when a sharp voice cut through the air. "What is this madness?" Margaret Voss, the HOA president, stormed toward us, her silver hair pulled tight, her designer blazer screaming authority. She knelt beside Carl, gasping. "You attacked an HOA officer. I'll have you arrested." I set Ethan down and faced her. "Your officer shoved my son off his bike and laughed about it, Margaret. Look at his knees." She flinched, but doubled down. "Carl enforces rules. You're the danger here." The crowd stirred. A woman stepped forward. Carl yelled at my daughter for picking flowers. A man held up his phone. "He fined me for my kids' chalk drawings." Margaret's eyes darted, sensing the shift. I raised my voice. "You gave a bully a badge, and now you're surprised someone fought back?" The neighbors nodded, phones still recording. Margaret's control was slipping, and she knew it. By evening, the HOA sent an email blast. "Assault on compliance officer, legal action imminent." They painted Carl as a hero and me as a thug, ignoring Ethan's injuries. But the video 15 seconds of Carl shoving Ethan, followed by my retaliation, spread like wildfire. The neighborhood's online forum exploded. Residents shared stories of Carl's cruelty, confiscated toys, screamed insults, and jignered complaints. Margaret called a closed-door HOA meeting, but I showed up anyway. The clubhouse was locked, but I stood outside, helmet in hand, with dozens of neighbors behind me. Margaret's silhouette paced inside, her voice shrill through the windows. "This is a setup. He's a criminal." But the crowd wasn't hers anymore. A woman held up a photo of her son's bruised arm. Another Carl incident. A man read from a leaked HOA memo, signed by Margaret, instructing staff to minimize complaints about Carl to protect community image. The truth was out. Margaret emerged, her face pale. "You're banned from HOA property," she spat. I stepped forward. "You don't own us, Margaret. You empowered a monster, and now you're scared because we're done being silent." The crowd murmured in agreement. A man shouted, "I'm out of this HOA." Others joined in. Margaret's clipboard hit the ground, and I knew her reign was over. The next day, a lawyer's letter arrived, threatening lawsuits and even CPS reports for exposing a minor to violence. I didn't flinch. I called an old friend, Laura Bennett, a retired attorney who'd taken down corrupt city officials. She saw Ethan's medical report: bruised ribs, scraped wrists, and said, "This ends now." Her letter, citing child endangerment and HOA negligence, stopped the lawyer cold. Then the leaks came. Internal emails showing Margaret's cover-ups, ignored complaints about Carl, and a directive to avoid escalation of his actions against kids. I posted everything online. By morning, the clubhouse sign reading "President Margaret Voss" was gone. An emergency meeting was called, and this time, the doors were open. Over 70 residents packed the room. The board's vice president, a quiet man named Tom, announced, "Margaret Voss is removed as president, effective immediately." Margaret tried to speak, but the crowd's silence drowned her. She left, defeated, her legacy in ruins. Weeks later, the HOA rewrote its rules. No staff could confront or touch a child, ever. Carl was gone, likely nursing his broken nose somewhere far away. Ethan's scars faded, but the pink mark on his knee remained, a reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked. Our neighborhood changed. We weren't just lot numbers anymore. We were neighbors, united by the courage to stand up. Looking back, I don't regret what I did. Not because I love violence, but because silence breeds tyrants. Ethan walks prouder now, knowing his dad fought for him and that our community did too. This wasn't just about a bike or a helmet. It was about breaking the chains of control, about reminding people that power belongs to us, not a clipboard or a vest. What would you have done if someone hurt your child and smirked about it? Have you ever faced a bully hiding behind rules? Share your story in the comments. I want to hear it. Tell me, is violence ever justified to protect someone you love, or does it just fuel more chaos? Your voice matters. If this story hits you, give it a like and subscribe for more real stories about courage and justice. Thanks for reading, and never forget, silence is the enemy of change.